Well, National Car Parks, Britain's biggest private operator, has said that some bays have been made wider to cope with larger cars, especially SUVs and people carriers. But most of their bays will remain at the standard size. So should our parking bays be made bigger to take account of wider cars? Well, Sean Berry is a Green Party member of the London Assembly, and Quentin Willson is a motoring journalist and transport campaigner. Quentin, just describe to us the kind of cars that are too big for normal spaces and why they're getting bigger.
Well, cars are getting bigger because they have to be safer. So we've got pedestrian crumple zones and side impact beams, and this is a very good thing. And also we've got more gizmos, more electronics. So if you take your Ford Escort in 1968, the today's equivalent of a Focus is a foot wider and a foot longer too. The Golf. That was a small car in 1974. That's now lengthened by 19 inches and is 7 inches wider. A Honda Civic, a normal little car, that's a foot wider and 2 foot longer. So it's not just SUVs and people carriers. All cars are getting bigger, but car spaces, parking spaces, really haven't changed at all in that period of time.
So, Sean, if cars are getting bigger, as we heard, for safety reasons, as well as, I suppose, people themselves are getting bigger, then do the spaces need to expand to compensate?
I think NCP do genuinely have a safety issue here, but I think we're talking here about, the amount of space on the roads for different uses, and that's a really crucial debate of our times. I think out in car parks at the moment, you've got this issue here with the smaller car drivers complaining because as you make the spaces wider, the number of spaces goes down. They've got small city cars. They're not happy that they're losing the opportunity to park. Out there on the roads too, you've got these wider cars. They're taking up more space when they're parked, and it's harder for them to pass each other on the streets. We've got cyclists out there who are experiencing a near miss, a pass that's too close, maybe once a week, and describing that as very scary. So it is a real issue. I think car manufacturers do need to be a bit cleverer. They can incorporate safety features in a smaller car, and they ought to be working harder to do that, to make cars that work in our cities and are courteous about the amount of space they take up.
And what about this point that if you make the existing spaces bigger, there'll be fewer available and will irritate small car owners?
Well, we pay heavily for the privilege of parking both on street in towns like London and in private car parks. And it's a simple financial issue, isn't it? They don't want to give up more spaces because it reduces their revenue. Taking maybe 10 spaces away from a car park and widening all the other spaces isn't going to be life-threatening, but it will reduce this titanic toll of damage and convince. And we've got to remember, we've got a road economy here, and we can't expect everybody to drive around in city cars when they have to commute from London to Manchester. The consumer likes bigger cars because they're safer. We carry around more stuff. We are bigger. We've got greater families. So asking us to suddenly change our behaviour and all drive around in tiny cars because it suits parking regulations, I think is a bit misplaced.
I think that's an argument you can make, but I think the manufacturers need to be clever about this. If you do need a bigger car, maybe it needs to be longer, not taller and fatter. I think a lot of this is to do with image. I think a lot of people are buying more 4x4s now, as they were 10 years ago when I started a campaign against 4x4s, simply for the image and not for practical reasons. And people do need to have available cars that are suitable for families, cars that are suitable for the city, that have low emissions, that are safe, clean and quiet. It's not beyond the wit of the manufacturers to deliver this to us, but they keep marketing these great big cars, and I don't think it's on.